Good afternoon, and welcome to the last session of the two-day e-symposium on street children in India, organized by the Criminological Research and Development Organization India in collaboration with Dr. K. N. Modi University, Mewari, Rajasthan. I, Krishna Tiwari, welcome you all to the second and final session of the e-symposium. First of all, I would like to make an important announcement for all the participants who have registered for the e-symposium. In the middle of the e-session, a feedback form will be released, which will also be considered as the attendance form. The participants are requested to fill their feedback form and submit the same before the end of the respective session. The participants submitting 3 out of 4 forms would be only be eligible to receive the certificate of participation. There will be an announcement before we release the feedback form. Now, moving ahead, in this session, we would learn and understand about the implementation of JJ Act 2015 and the role of the Child Welfare Committee towards the child in need of care and protection, with a special emphasis on street children. As we all know that on India, there is special law which deals with children, both child in need of care and protection as well as child in conflict with law. Yes, the Juvenile Justice Act. Our next speaker, Dr. Bijli Malik Ma'am, will now discuss the JJ Act 2015 as well as the implementation of JJ Act 2015 in context to street children. Ma'am is the Director of Institute for Psychological and Educational Research, a voluntary organization that works with the marginalized population with a focus on their rights. I request Dr. Bijli Malik Ma'am to kindly edify us about the implementation of the JJ Act 2015. Ma'am, please.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very thankful to CRDO for inviting me in this session, the e-symposium. And I'm not a lawyer, so though I will talk about a law, I'll talk from my experience as a CWC chairperson for about 3.5 years, and my experience with working with marginalized children in IPER for the last 50 years. So I'll try to give some presentations. I hope I'll share it with you. Can you see it, please? Is it okay?
Now, I think the screen has been shared, but there's nothing on the screen yet.
Your screen sharing, they're saying.
Yeah.
Dixit, I think we are able to see this screen.
Okay, fine.
Can you see it? Yashwan?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it okay? Are you able to see it?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we are able to see, ma'am. We can see the screen that you are sharing, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. The implementation part. In fact, I'll try to divide my discussion in a different way. First, I will try to talk about a little about the Act, and then finally the Act and as it has been planned for implementation, and then what are the hurdles that we are facing for its implementation. Okay, it is a protection mechanism, as all of you know, based on the child-friendly approach for the best interest of the child, and it is totally based on the rights of the children, as announced in UN Convention in 1989. Okay, so this is an outcome of the feeling of the world that children's rights should be protected. Now, who's a child? As per the law, the child is anybody who's below the 18 and below years. And so it may be a child even in the womb of the mother. So child till the age of 18 comes under the purview of the JJ Act of 2015. Now, I would like to say that this JJ Act came into being after this 2000 JJ Act. With in 2015, it was new, the act came in, and it provides a legal framework for protecting children. The rules have been framed, the central rules in 2016, and I being in part of West Bengal, in 2017, we had our own rules. It aims at providing proper care, protection, and development, treatment, and social reintegration. This is very important, social reintegration of the child based on a child-friendly approach. And nothing, no way less is on the best, based on the best interest of the child. This is the key word that we have to remember all the time when we are working with children. Now, there's been a pragmatic shift in child welfare approach. The earlier one was more on a child welfare approach, but this one is more on a more realistic and more legal implications are there. The key purpose is to bring to new legislation was the increased number of crimes, particularly rapes for juveniles. It has provisions for teenagers who commit heinous crime. Children's court shall make sure that the child found guilty of heinous crime shall be sent to a place of safety till he or she attains the age of 21 and afterwards. The person may be shifted to jail. So this is a different approach than the earlier 2001. Now, what are the fundamental principles? There are certain fundamental principles laid down on the very beginning of the act. It says presumption of innocence. No child is born criminal or born a person to go against the law. So presumption of innocence is the very basis of this act. Dignity and worth, dignity of child, best interest of the juvenile, and family has not been denied. So family and the responsibility of the family has been accepted here. Safety, care, protection system, these are all, self-explanatory words. I need not go into the, explaining it. Right to be heard. Adopt positive measures for the well-being of children. This is very important, positive measures, nothing to stigmatize or semantics or decisions and actions which will have negative effect on the child. Non-waiver of rights. No way the rights can be waived. Then equality, non-discrimination. These are very, very important rules, principles of the act. Right to privacy and confidentiality. And one more thing we have to remember, institutionalization as the last resort. It is not the first. We usually think that is the first resort, but it is the last resort as per the principles of the JJ Act. Repatriation and restoration, and fresh start by erasing all past records. This is very important because we have to make a new beginning for the life for the child. Now, what are the key stakeholders? Police, SJPU, government with education, health department, and other stakeholders are DCPS, SCPS, parents, schools, judiciary, media, community, children's homes, that is CCI, government and both non-government, and district magistrate, then SA, and Childline and other NGOs. And in the center is the CWC and JJB, who is to deal with the children who are either a child who needs care and protection or child who is in conflict with law. Now, India being a signatory to the UNCRC, we have set up certain protection mechanism. One is the NCPCR, National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. This is an outcome of the JJ Act. Then State Commission, that is state chapter of this Child Rights Protection Committee. Then we also have other level child protection committees at the ward level, in the urban areas, block level, and village level. So these are the different bodies that has to monitor, look after, and try to ensure the rights of the child, which has been set up by the Act. Now, this JJ Act is implemented through certain bodies, certain bodies like CWC, Child Welfare Committee, then Juvenile Justice Board, police, there's SGPU and SGPO, State Juvenile Police Officer, SGPUs, I'll be explaining these later. So child protection societies, as I was telling you, village, block, district, state, and national level. And there are institutional cares like shelter homes, children's home, observation homes, special homes, aftercare homes. And there are non-institutional care. So it is the JJ Act is implemented through these basic institutions. Now, measures taken at Child Welfare Committee is the custodian of the rights of the child. And Juvenile Justice Board looks after children in conflict with law, that is CCL. Special Juvenile Police Units, SJPU, are constituted in each district and city by the state government to coordinate all functions of police related to children. Now, every police station also has a police officer, not below the rank of ASI. But these are, these are things that has been made, there's been provided for. Child Welfare Police Officer to exclusively deal with children either as victims of or perpetrators in cooperation with police and NGOs. NGOs also includes Childline Services. You must be aware about that, 1098. Now we have two categories of children who come under this JJ Act. One is children in need of care and protection, another is children in conflict with law. Like children in need of care and protection is children who are at risk of being anything, abuse, they're vulnerable, violence. Children who are victims, children who lack protection. Here we can also include neglect, children who've been neglected. Children who are vulnerable to trafficking or abduction, labor, child marriage. Children who have been sold or trafficking, or child who's been living by herself, earned for herself, an addiction. These categories are basically come under the group children in need of care and protection, in short called CNCP. Now, CCL, or children in conflict with law, is children who committed petty offenses, children involved in non-serious offenses. Sometimes children perform activities which are not very serious, very petty. Children who are involved in serious offenses. Children who are accompanied adults to commit an offense. Often it's been seen children accompany adults or adults use the children to commit a crime. Children who accidentally was found in a situation of a crime. When a crime was committed and a child was found there, when a police or any the law enforcing people go there, they found the child in the place of the crime. So these kids are brought under the category of CCL, or child in conflict with law. Now, I hope I'll try to be a little fast because, I would like to emphasize more on the challenges and hurdles faced by for this act, for the implementation of the act. Children who are vulnerable are like homeless, runaway, missing, children who have been abandoned, surrendered, left on certain place. From my experience as a CWC chairperson, I found children left on railway stations, in hospitals, on the street. Children are forced often to begging, street child or working child. Now with this COVID situation, the pandemic, number of working children has increased. Begging has increased too, especially in the urban setup. trafficked or at risk of being trafficked, abused, exploited, children who are often at home and are compelled without the school is closed and the family is there and they often get abused or exploited within the family. So these are the outcomes of often of this pandemic. Victims of armed conflict, civil commotion or conflicts, violence and natural disasters, differently abled, mentally or physically challenged. These are children who can be categorized as CNCP. These are examples, I mean to say. Now, India is a signatory to UNCRC, so the Child Welfare Committee can be regarded as a custodian of the rights of the child. CWC is the ordering authority in deciding the matters on CNCP. The order of the CWC can be challenged for redressal to the district magistrate. When I was the chairperson, I was challenged twice in High Court, the non-district magistrate, but that time it was in High Court because it was I left CWC in February 2015. So prior to this 2015 Act, I was challenged, but thankfully I came out with victory because it was accepted that Child Welfare Committee is the final authority on CNCP, any child who is in need of care and protection. Their order is the final. However, now with the new Act, it can be challenged in District Magistrate Court. It is a statutory body for exercising powers and discharge the duties conferred in relation to CNCP. It has 4 members and a lady chairperson. And as a body, can be described as a first-class magistrate and can pass orders which are binding on the case, but can be challenged, and district magistrate is the redressal authority. Here, the definition of child in need of care and protection has been expanded. CWC is no longer the final authority, as I was telling you. District magistrate is the redressal authority, and there is a procedure for inquiry. CWC shall now conduct an inquiry of any child produced before it. But the underlying principle, as I was telling you before, best interest principle. The best interest principle has been included as a principle in addition to the definition of best interest. I will not go into the details of how the inquiry is to be proceeded, and I have some slides, but I see that my next speaker will be elaborating on CWC. So I'll skip a few slides of mine and I'll go to the CLC. CCL, JJB. Children in conflict with law. Child in conflict with law means a child who is alleged or found to have committed an offense and who has not completed 18 years of age on the date of the commission of such offense. As I was telling you before, the category is same: petty offense, serious offense, heinous offense, involved in with adults, or was found in the place of crime. Now this JJB, I don't know whether already some discussion has taken place on about JJB, but I will just briefly say the state government shall form 1 or more JJBs in each district for functions relating to CCL. There are certain rules, there are certain provisions regarding the way JJB should act. The child should ensure that the JJB should ensure that child's informed participation. Child should be told why the child has been apprehended. Rights are protected. That also has to be ensured. Legal aid has to be given. Order including an individual care plan. ICP is a must in all CCIs, and also while releasing the child in any way, order should include an ICP for the child. And other measures to protect children should be ensured, should be guaranteed. Composition is, I think probably many of you know, Metropolitan or Judicial Magistrate of first class, at least 3 years experience, 2 social workers, 1 should be a woman. Sittings, this board shall hold its sittings in the premises of an observation home or at a place in proximity to the observation home or at a suitable premise in any child care institution meant for children in conflict with law run under the Act. But in no circumstances shall the board operate from within any court or jail premises. After apprehension of a CCL, shall be placed under the in charge of SJPO or CWPO, Child Welfare Police Officer, to be produced before the JJB within 24 hours. Should never be put in lockup or jail. This is often been violated in many police stations. State shall provide persons, VOs or voluntary organizations or NGOs to be responsible for the child. Parents should be informed or guardians should be informed and an inquiry to be done by the board, JJB. You know, for as per the new act, the 16 years shall be, if a CCL is performed heinous offense, and the board may seek expert help to identify that heinous offense. Post-assessment of the board will decide on the nature of the order as per the specific need for supervision and intervention and social investigation report. This is also very important, SIR. Social investigation report should be provided and should be given by the police officers to the board. The board may refer the case to the children's court for further intervention and plan for care and rehabilitation. Now, there's another concept has come up here, is place of safety. The state government shall set up at least one place of safety in the state to place a person above the age of 18 or in case of CCL, one between 16 and 18 in case of heinous crimes, I mean. Now, what is a place of safety? The place of safety is an institutional mechanism in the JJ system. In the act, it's been said, it means any place or institution established separately or attached to an observation home or a special home, but never in a police lockup or jail. By an order of the board or the children's court, both during inquiry and ongoing rehabilitation, this place of safety will be there for the child. Certain orders can be passed by JJB and certain orders cannot be passed by JJB. What are the orders that may be passed by the JJB? Allow the child to go home after advice and admonition or counseling, may be released on bail. Child may be directed for group counseling and similar activities. Order the child to perform community service. Older children may perform community service. Order the parent or the child himself to pay fine if child is above 14 years of age and earns money, or in the interest of the child impose necessary conditions. Direct the child to be released on probation for good conduct under the care of the parent or guardian, or to fit person or fit institution. These are the new concepts that's come up, fit institution, fit persons, and we need to elaborate on that too. Make an order directing the child to be sent to a special home for a maximum period of 3 years. Orders that cannot be passed. Cannot be sentenced to death, life imprisonment, or committed to prison. Never ever. Cannot be charged or tried for offense with an adult under the IPC. Cannot pass orders seeking security for good behavior. Now, who can produce CNCP and CCL before these two statutory bodies, CWC and JJB. Childline 1098 or NGOs or any organization, parents, police, members of child welfare committee, if they find somebody, some child who is a CCL or a child CNCP, may produce the child before the committee. Shelter or children's home personnel, aftercare home staff members, members of child protection committee. I'll elaborate on this child protection committee, which has been set up now. Child herself or himself can also submit herself to before the CWC, or any concerned adult who finds a CNCP or CCL in an area. Now let me talk a little bit about SJPU. State government shall constitute a special juvenile unit in each district to coordinate functions of police related to children. Central government will form SJPU for railway police. Child welfare police officers in PS must be trained. In fact, regular training takes place in the police training institutes nowadays. While with children, police will not be in uniform. Lady police officers with girl child is a must. Respect the dignity and self-esteem of the child. This is very, 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 very important, because the CRC says that child has a right to name and nationality. So name. So the self-esteem of the child should be respected, and the name of the child should be uttered before, addressing the child. So, and give a copy of the FIR to the child victim. That is, he must be informed. No contact with the perpetrator. But this is a situation where often we have found that the perpetrator and the victim, they are often traveling in the same vehicle because of lack of infrastructure, which I'll be discussing again as a hurdle, a challenge. Be in contact with DCPU, District Child Protection Unit, the JJB and the CWC. So SJPU in collaboration with JJB, CWC and DCPU must take care of the children who are in conflict with law. Now this JJ Act aimed at creating a robust legal framework for protection of rights of children, whether in conflict with law or in need of care and protection. But we need to remember that it is easier to build strong children, but difficult to prepare broken children. Children who have been in need of care and protection, children who are in difficult situations, children who have come in conflict with law, children who have been challenged. Hence, the non-institutional care plan. What are these non-institutional care plans? We have to remember the rehabilitation and social reintegration, as I was telling you. These are the two major principles that has to be looked after. All children, CNCP and CCL, as per the CRC, need to be socially rehabilitated and reintegrated. This process will be based on the individual care plan of the child, preferably through family-based care, restoration to family or guardian, or a fit person with supervision or without supervision, and sponsorship or adoption or foster care. It has been found that the family is the best place for the child, but often the family is the perpetrator. Often the family abuses the child. In such cases, any other guardian or fit person or a fit institution or other measures like sponsorship, adoption, foster care, these are the measures that can be taken up for social reintegration. Now, fit institution and fit persons, who are these people? Fit institution is a recognized voluntary organization, VO, prepared to own the responsibility of the child. And fit person is a social worker prepared to own the responsibility of the child. In my tenure, though this new act was not there, I placed a few children in fit families. Like fit person was the chief of the family, the main person in the family, and they acted as a fit person and took care of the child, of course, with follow-up and real, social investigations and other follow-up measures. What are the duties and functions? Juvenile placed under their care, take care of the juvenile. Take care of juvenile placed under their supervision by the board after finding him guilty. This is pending inquiry as well as when the child has been found to have performed the offense. Prevent subjection of juvenile to any form of cruelty or exploitation or neglect. Receive and take charge of the juvenile pending his transfer to his ordinary place of residence. Next is, I think, these are the best type of non-institutional services that we can adopt. So as suggested in the Act, adoption. Foster care, adoption, as you probably aware, that we can put the child into adoption to prospective adoptive parents through a lot of, procedural methods are there, procedures are there, and that can be followed to ensure the safety of the child. Foster care, where certain amount of money is being provided to the foster care family, and the child lives with the family till he or she attains the age of 18. Sponsorship is also sponsoring the child. The child may remain with the relatives or the parents if the child it's required, but a sponsorship fund can be provided to them so that the upkeep of the child can be taken care of. Fit person is something like the fit person that I just spoke about in the earlier slide. Counseling is another way to provide non-institutional services. Community centers, and daycare and night care in families. Many states have got daycare where the family is busy in work, and sometimes the family is on the street, so night care can also be taken care of. So these are the facilities that are non-institutional services. Now, what is Child Protection Committee, CPC? It is a community-based group including duty bearers who are primarily responsible for creating and promoting child-friendly and safe community environment for the well-being and safety and rights of the child. They have to monitor, report, and respond to issues of child protection, assess the needs, plan, and take up innovative activities to raise awareness in the community, developing annual action plan to address child protection issues, promote children's collectives. Children group can be formed and they can take care of themselves and they can take care of the others too. Referring and reporting cases to higher level like CPCs and DCPUs. Engaging stakeholders in raising awareness. CPC is a very, very community-based approach which can reduce the burden on the government on CCIs and also help the child to remain in the community, sometimes even in the place where the family usually lives. So it is one of the best policy that one of the best approach that we can take up for restoring the needs of the child, rights of the child rather. Now, changing perspectives. Instead of reform and punishment, reform and rehabilitation and not punishment. This should be the motto. An alternative justice system. We have to remember, keep in mind both the interests of the child as well as interests of the society. These are two to be blended because child has to be placed in the society. While children are protected from baneful effects of prisons, the victims have found no solace from juvenile justice system. Often the victims say that the children are not in the prison and they are being looked after well, and so they think that their rights have been violated. So that also has to be kept in mind. The victims feel that children are let off easily even when they commit a serious offense or repeat offenses. So these are to be kept in mind while dealing with the CCL. An alternative system for juveniles must champion minimum intervention. This is what is needed: minimum intervention by law and minimum institutionalization. It must make sure that the rehabilitation process is strong, prevent them from coming into conflict with law again. Because rehabilitation and preventive measures are the two key words for the alternative system. Rehabilitation for children in conflict with law rests on the principle of restorative justice instead of criminal justice. Though I'm not very conversant with the law, but I found this to be very interesting. In criminal justice, the crime is against whom? The state. In restorative justice, it is under the victim and the community. Here, the offender is punished. Here, they accept the responsibility, repairs harm. And here, the role does victim play? Witness. But here has a say in the restitution. And focus of the system is placed blame in the criminal justice system. But here, questions are answered, problems are solved, problem-solving approach is taken, and harm repaired. This is the restorative justice that we have to follow in case of a child who has been found to be in conflict with law. Now, what are the challenges? We know very well that these are very, very well spoken, well laid down principles and infrastructure. But what is actually in the ground? Ground level lack of infrastructure. Often it's been found a police officer comes to me while I was in CWC saying that, ma'am, we do not have a vehicle to take the child to the court for 164. We do not have proper money to take feed the child, to give food to the child while the child is in the court or JJB. Inadequate facilities. Facilities are not there for place of safety. The child has to sit in an open police station where other adult criminals are there. Then lack of de-addiction centers in the district. Often children have been found to be addicted to inhalation, to other types of addictive substances. Free legal aid is to be provided, but often free legal aid is not available. And lack of interpreter. Often the child doesn't understand the language of the spoken by the people who are trying to address the child or the police station. So lack of interpreter should be there, but lack of interpreter is also a very important problem. Non-filing of social background report, SBR, by the police in time. So that delays the process. Proper preparation of social investigation report, SIR, and individual care plan are not mechanically done. Often we do it very mechanically. Because one after another cases are coming, and often the social worker, they prepare that SIR and ICP very, very cursory. I've seen it, and very mechanically, not even looking at the real problem of the child. So this has to be ensured that it is done in a proper manner. SJPU should be trained. Often police officers do not know how to deal with a child. What are the psychological, uh, psychological state of a child who's been in a police station or who has been appearing before a JJP. Non-availability of social workers with this SJPUs. At times, unavailability of CWC members and beyond office hours. Delay in medical examination. Medical examination is also, we have found that child is going one day after day for medical examination, and either some way or the other, it's not happening. According to the Act, family care should be given first priority, but in reality, children, both CNCP and CCL, are put into institutionalization. Our first approach is to put them into a home. Bas, forget. As if that is the only solution which is available. It's much easier for most of the persons who deal with these children. When only it is full, CCIs cannot accommodate, they start crying and begging that don't send children, they stop doing that. And that too with a lot of, hesitation. Now, there is a huge gap between the CRC and the implementation of the JJ Act in reality. Often we always say that the underlying feature should be the best interest of the child. We forget about that. We always go by the words written on the act. So this is also very, very important that we understand CRC as well, along with the JJ Act. Most of the studies have critically analyzed. I found several studies where critically analyzed JJ Act, and majority of the findings says that though the act is derived from UNCRC, it is limited only in documents. As I said, it is only literally done, not done by the spirit of the CRC. Another thing is there are insufficient specialists to monitor and evaluate the child protection system installed. This basic remedy itself seems to be violating the basic rights of children. If the child protection system is not working properly, however, how many acts we may have, the child who is to be addressed, that will never provide that will never protect the child. That will not protect the child at all. That will not provide the rights of the child, but rather they will violate the basic rights of the child. In fact, we know about child rights more by its violation than by its acceptance. In reality, the implementation mechanisms often ruins the best interest of children, because we always try to follow the words laid down in the act. We forget that behind those words is the idea, the spirit of protecting the child. That is often lost. There are certain best practices that I thought I would like to mention. I can mention. Issue of letter from district judge directing CJM and SGM not to ACGM, JM courts not to release children where CWC custody orders have been given. Often it was found during my tenure itself that district judge used to child who's been given custody to a institution for a certain period because of certain reasons, maybe the family is not protective enough. They go to the district judge, and district judge, without understanding the role of the CWC, used to pass orders of releasing the children and hand over them on that very day to the family. So we had to approach the district judge, explain to the district judge. He was not very aware about the role the CWC can play. And he finally gave an order where CJM, CJM's courts not to release children where CWC custody orders have been given. NGO now organize child-friendly corners in police stations. In many police stations in West Bengal, especially in Kolkata and the districts around, child-friendly corners have been set up where a child can sit, child can be comfortable, child can be given counseling, child can play instead of sitting in a open room along with the adult criminals. We also have found the CWC sittings in railway platforms and bus terminus where child trafficking may take place. So these are very important things. And also Child Line is working in these areas, railway platforms and bus terminus. Follow-up of restored children who are vulnerable for monitoring their safety. Regular follow-up, often I found that earlier, before my tenure, much of follow-up was not happening. But certain cases of monitoring is required. Certain cases require monitoring. Certain cases require, supervision. And follow-up has now been a practice for restored children, either to their family or to the guardian or to fit person. Now, what I feel that for the stakeholders, especially the different stakeholders, certain steps can be taken. For judiciary, clarification on differences on CNCP and JCL, juvenile or CCL. Yeah. State Legal Services Authority, local chapters at VLCs. DLCs are there. The State Legal Services Authority, DLSA is there. Also state is there, legal, it can be brought down to the village level also, VLCs. Judicial Academy should be set up for training of judiciary and other allied system. Government should ensure special facilities of rehab program for traffic victims, especially not only for traffic victims, but also for challenged children, addicted children. Police, FIR for missing children, use of POCSO, orientation on handling cases of CNCP, tendency to reduce age of victims. Then sensitization of all stakeholders, especially in the community, amongst the parents, amongst the key leaders in the community. We have to sensitize them. Even the government departments like education, health, labor, they need to be sensitized. NGO, network NGOs, CBOs and PR system, social activists and CWC and police. This network has to be strengthened, has to be really made effective in protecting the child. Institution and children's home, every institutional care facilities must have a CPP, child protection policy. Now, I think in some places it has been made mandatory, but still many institutions and children's home, they do not have a CPP. So they do not know when a particular child is been violated, how to deal with it, and who they can go to for redressal. Now, cases that need intervention on ward footing are child marriage, which has now increased very much in this pandemic situation, trafficking, runaway. I got cases during my tenure of CWC. I found cases of runaway children where they just left the village to see a city. With 5 rupees in their pocket, 5 kids came away and they were apprehended by the GRP in a police station traveling without ticket. And when we asked them, they said, no, we just wanted to see the city. We want to go to Calcutta to find out how Calcutta looks, because everybody goes to Calcutta. All the adults go to Calcutta to enjoy their life. And we are languishing here in a home, children's home. So we ran away and we wanted to go to it. They didn't even know that they have to buy a ticket in the train, and 5 rupees is not enough for 5 kids. the age ranging between 9 to 11. Child labor, which is also become very rampant during the pandemic. Child abuse. Child abuse also must include child neglect. These need to be reported and brought before the statutory bodies instead of being settled at the local level. Often we tend to, hush it up or say that, oh, it's not very important, after all, a child. And we need not go to the statutory bodies like CWC or JJB, because or go to the police, because that means again harassment, taking time or following that up, and they don't have time. So they try to settle in the local level without properly addressing the situation. So finally, the JJ Act needs to be understood at times by its spirit, as I was telling you at the very beginning, keeping in mind the best interest of the child. Often we go by the literal words, the words written there, without going into the spirit behind those words. So JJ Act, if it is to be implemented properly at all levels, starting from the policymakers to the implementers and to the community, we have to understand the spirit and keeping in mind the best interest of the child. That is the key line of all our work with children. And finally, I think that very soon we all will leave, but children will remain. Today's child will be tomorrow's adult. And they will carry our message, whether we have treated them well, whether we have helped them to grow up properly or not. They are the living messages we send to a time we will not see. So the different stakeholders, need to create a protective and enabling environment for the child. It is we have to stand up and see that our child is protected, because the name of the child is today, not tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for enlightening us in brief, yet very detailed facts about the various aspects of the law and its executive body, working body, and
I cannot hear you properly. Sorry.
Am I audible now, ma'am? Hello. Am I audible now?
Yeah, slightly better. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am, for enlightening us in brief, but yet very detailed facts about the various aspects of the law and its executive bodies and other working parts, and making us aware of Juvenile Justice Code and Children Protection Committee. Ma'am, the question session has been scheduled in the later part of the program after both the speakers have shared their topic. So moving ahead and moving towards the last speaker of the e-symposium, Mr. Manoj Kumar Sharma, sir, who is a member in the branch of Magistrate of Child Welfare Committee, Delhi. So would be discussing about the role of Child Welfare Committee towards the child in need of care and protection, with a special emphasis on street children. Therefore, I request sir to kindly enlighten us about the topic. Sir, please.
Hello. 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 Hello.
Your
I'm
audio.
audible?
Yeah, the audio is fine.
Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon, all. Myself, Manoj Kumar Sharma. I'm working in a child welfare committee as a member. To share briefly about my experience with the street children, when I started working in 2003 in childline at grassroots level, where I had the opportunity to experience their life closely. Further, I continue working with the street and working children as part of pilot project of SJPU, active of the district task force for prevent child labor, and now as member also in Delhi. The topic on street children contain a sea of issues and concerns that need to be discussed. The 2 days of the session and street children had been very enlightening, and I am glad having received this opportunity to share my journey and experience that I have had working with street and working children for about 15 years. The street children is a term used for both children, first, who have no family and literally live on the street. Second, for children who may have a parent but they make their money in the streets. The term street child, used by the Commission on Human Rights in 1994, was developed in the 1980s to describe any girl or boy who for whom the street has become his or her habitual about habitual abode and or source of livelihood, and who is inadequately protected, supervised, or directed responsibility adults. At that time, street children were categorized broadly into two categories. Are first, children on the street, children of the street. First, children on the street are who worked on the street and went home to their families at night, or those children who comes from family for some time on street and return back to the family. They may be missing children, working children also. Second, children of the street are who lived on the street, were functionally without family support but maintain family links, or abandoned children who lived completely on their own. The SFP by National Commission for Protection of Child Rights identified their children as CISS, that is, children living in a street situation. Their children living in street situation are often described as hidden or invisible. This is due to the lack of identity, recognition, or social status that could make them count. All CISS, whether living with or without parents, are extremely vulnerable to crimes and abuse. We must note that children living with families and in community environment are somehow safer than the children living in street situations or children without parental care. These CISS are one of the most vulnerable categories of human beings who survive on the street without any safety net. The CISS is thus very vulnerable category of children that are in need of care and protection. The Child Welfare Committee is the body which is set to protect their children in need of care and protection. And therefore, more importantly, the children living in a street situation due to severity of vulnerability. While more focus should be on those children who are living without family, a specific reference can be made to children without parental care or children who are outside the net of family safety. The JJ Act 2015 under section 2, subsection 14 has defined children who are in need of care and protection. Therefore, being the principal act governing CNCP, the CNCP may be defined as already discussed in previous session to discuss the categorization of children for appropriate interventions. The JJ Act 2015 covers all categories of children that fall under CNCP. Accordingly, on the basis of the definition and indicators provided in the Act, children of various situations and nature found in street situation can be enumerated to stabilize the fact that they are indeed CNCP. This would help in deciding appropriate intervention and measures to address the core issues and reasons the children are in street situations. Defining and identifying children in living on a street situation appropriately is crucial to provide them with different set of interventions and services as per their circumstances and vulnerabilities. For example, those with parents, guardians on the street will need a different approach, and those who have no contact with families or are abandoned or orphaned will require a diverse approach and a distinct set of services. Though there are prescribed various measures, setups, to be taken to provide care and protection to the CISS. There will be always be possibility and need for a customized solution depending on the situation. Therefore, keeping in mind the best interest of the child welfare committee may use their own discretion under the provision of Juvenile Justice Act 2015 and other laws related to children. Now we shall discuss the production of child before the CLC. According to JJ Act 2015 Section 31, any child in need of care and protection may be produced before the committee by any of the following person: any police officer, special juvenile police unit, or designated child welfare police officer, or any official of district child protection unit and inspection appointed under any labor law for the time being in force. Second, any public servant. Third, Childline Services or any voluntary or non-governmental organization or any agency as may be recognized by the state government. Fourth, child welfare officer or provision officer. Fifth, any social worker or a public spiritual citizen. Sixth, by the child himself. Seven, any nurse, doctor, or management of a nursing home, hospital, or mentally home. It may be maternity home. Sorry, it may be noted that provided that the child shall be produced before the committee without any loss of the time, but within a period of 24 hours, excluding the time necessary for the journey. I would like to share one more thing. जब हम बात करते हैं कि बच्चा भी खुद अपने आप को सिलेबस में प्रोड्यूस मतलब खुद आ सकता है, तो वो सिचुएशन जो है वो बहुत कम देखी जाती है। कारण यह है कि या तो बच्चों को ये अवेयरनेस नहीं है या उनको पता ही नहीं है कि सिलेबसी कहाँ है, या फिर उन तक पहुंच नहीं है सिलेबसी की। In case the child is alone in the street situation, in case of the child living alone, the committee on being satisfied through the inquiry that the child before the committee is the CNCP may, on consideration of social investigation report, exercises discretion for the restoration of the child to parents or guardian. Through the inquiry, if it's found that the child is living alone, and through SIR, social information report, it has been established that the child could not be restored with the family or could not also be declared free for adoption. The child may be provided long-term institutional care till the completion of 18 years and after that financial support as per section 46 of the Act 2015 may be provided till the age of 21 years in order to facilitate the child's reintegration into the mainstream of society. I would like to say one more thing. The SIR may be filled by WO, welfare officer, institutional social worker, child and worker, or DCPO staff also. Secondly, in case the child is living with the family in the street situation, if the child is found to be living with his family on the street and it is migrant family which has come to the city due to lack of means for substance, adopting the livelihood option of doing odd jobs, begging or selling products on the streets, or even does some other work involving children or not, but attract the provisions provided in the JJ Act 2015, the DCPO may visit the family and prepare the SIR to present the family situation. It is also important that the family is counseled by DCPO, CWO, social worker, NGO, community-based organization, or a representative to explain to them the various reasons why their child should not be on the streets. If the family does not find any possible means of being in the city except of the street and they went to go back to their native place, considering the safety of the child and dignity of the family, all possible steps may be taken to rehabilitate the family to their native place. Therefore, keeping in mind the best interest of the child, CLC may consider writing to the CLC of the concerned district the family belong to or to the district magistrate to provide sponsorship for the child. if the child is eligible for sponsorship under Section 45 of the JJ Act and ensure basic facility and appropriate benefits under various schemes of the government, both central and state government, are provided to the family so that the family does not their children at risk.
Participants are kindly requested to mute their.
May I continue?
Yes, sir, please.
For the understanding and need for intervention, the CCI may be categorized under three broad types of follow-ups. Children without support living on the street all alone. These are children without any parental anchor or family support system living on the streets. For them, street in the home, example, are missing runway, abandoned and orphan children. Some of these children may be vulnerability, not in contact with family. In other words, these children do not keep contact with parents, sibling relatives or guardians, irrespective of whether they know their whereabouts. The survivor of street by working, begging, selling item, good, performing on street or adopting any other means. Secondly, children stay on the street in the day and are back home in the night with their families who reside in a nearby slum huts. These children are children who spend their time on street in the daytime. However, they go home during the night to be with their parents who live in a nearby slum or hut. Third, children living on the street with their families. These are children living with their families on the streets. They are from different parts of the country and have migrated to the city to earn their subsistence. They are mostly work in the unrecognized sector like temporary labor in construction. Their family includes seasonal as well as permanent migrants. Children of these families also live on the street with them, mostly begging, picking rags or doing child labor with their parents, selling goods, items, etc. Thus, these children living in state situation are most vulnerable to be protected. The role of Child Welfare Committee does not end with first production of the child. It continues with regular periodic follow-up to better understand and analyze the need and wants of the child for the best interest of the child until the child is restored back to the family safety or has attained 18 years for aftercare and until age of 21 years for complete rehabilitation back to the society. The CLC ensure the same through the CCI, Child Care Institution, DCPO and other agencies. Even follow-up is done by CLC through WO and DCPO with those children who are restored back to the family until brief period depending on case and as community seem fit before the case is consigned. इसके स्ट्रीट चिल्ड्रन और चाइल्ड वेलफेयर कमेटी के रोल के तहत मैं एक चीज और बताना चाहूंगा कि चाइल्ड वेलफेयर कमेटी के अंतर्गत 4 मेंबर और एक चेयरपर्सन होते हैं जो कि बच्चों के बेस्ट इंटरेस्ट को ध्यान में रखते हुए उनके लिए जो है डायरेक्शन या ऑर्डर पास करते हैं, जिसके तहत जो बच्चे स्टेट एंड वर्किंग चिल्ड्रन के अंतर्गत आते हैं या स्टेट चाइल्ड के अंतर्गत आते हैं उन बच्चों के लिए रिहेबिलिटेशन प्लान जो है वो पूरा ही फॉर्म किया जाता है, जिसमें बच्चों के एज ग्रुप को ध्यान में रखते हुए वो बच्चा अगर 0 से 6 ईयर तक का है तो उसको बच्चे को जो है शाम में भेजा जाता है जहाँ पे उसका जो है पुलिस के माध्यम से एनओसी लेटर प्राप्त किया जाता है। अगर मान लीजिए उनके पेरेंट्स वगैरह नहीं है तो उस बच्चे के लिए जो है लीगली फ्री का के लिए जो है चाइल्ड वेलफेयर कमेटी जो है ऑर्डर पास करती है, जिसके तहत बच्चा जो है अडॉप्शन में चला जाता है। 6 से अबव बच्चों के लिए जो है वो इंस्टीट्यूशनल केयर में भेजा जाता है। अगर बच्चे के पेरेंट्स हैं तो उन बच्चों को जो है वो काउंसलिंग प्रोवाइड की जाती है। काउंसलिंग के माध्यम से बच्चे को पेरेंट्स को बच्चा हैंड ओवर किया जाता है। और अगर बच्चे को हैंड ओवर किया जा रहा है तो उसमें भी जो है वो पूरा फॉलोअप रखा जाता है, जिसमें बच्चे का पूरा केयर एंड प्रोटेक्शन को ध्यान रखते हुए एजुकेशन, वोकेशनल ट्रेनिंग, इन सब का भी ध्यान रखा जाता है, ताकि बच्चा दोबारा से जो है वो सड़क पे ना आ जाए या किसी गलत एक्टिविटी में ना इन्वॉल्व हो जाए। ऐसे बच्चे भी होते हैं जिनके पेरेंट्स नहीं होते हैं, या फिर उन बच्चों को जो है सरेंडर कर दिया जाता है, या फिर ऑर्फन होते हैं। उन बच्चों के लिए जो है वो इंस्टीट्यूट में रिहेबिलिटेशन प्लान पूरा प्रिपेयर किया जाता है, जिसमें बच्चों का जो है वो वोकेशनल ट्रेनिंग एजुकेशन प्रोवाइड किया जाता है। अगर बच्चा 18 अबव हो जाता है इंस्टीट्यूशन में तो उसको उसके लिए जो है आफ्टर केयर का प्रोविजन है, जिसमें बच्चे के रिहेबिलिटेशन प्लान पूरा जो है डेवलप होता है, और आफ्टर केयर में उस बच्चे के 21 ईयर तक ख्याल रखा जाता है, जो कि सोसाइटी से जोड़ा जाता है। थैंक यू। मैं यहीं पे समापन करना चाहूंगा। कोई सवाल वगैरह हो तो प्लीज।
So I think we should move now towards the question hour of this last session. I would request all the participants to drop their questions in the chat section, and please mention the speakers which whom you want to ask the question, that particular question. And the feedback form has been sent in the chat section. Participants are kindly requested to fill it also. And please ask whatever questions or doubts you have in mind. I think we are not getting questions from the participants. So I would request Mr. Yashwant Narayan to, if you have any doubts or queries you would like to ask, either Bijli ma'am or Manoj sir.
Yeah, thank you, Pratikshit. And I was also expecting from the participants that they should come up with some questions, although we have requested them. So I don't think they have any kind of question or doubt they have. It's okay. So my question is from Bijli ma'am, Bijli Malik madam. So ma'am, could you please turn off your mic and camera so that we can interact with them? So ma'am, when we talk about the implementation of the JJ Act, and there are provisions about setting up the SGPOs and the CWPOs for the for handling the cases with juveniles and the child in need of care and protection. So what could be the factors that has led to not the JJ Act has not been implemented as it was supposed to be implemented throughout the India, ma'am? What factors could have led this to happen, ma'am?
I think the major thing is that which happens in almost all cases of all the acts, is that we try to go by the words of it. We try to go by the literal meaning of the words. We never go by the spirit of the act. Like, for example, JJ Act has been based on the CRC. But often many situations have come, and I myself have come across during my work with children, where we have found that where the child needs care by the child, the best interest of the child will be affected. If the child is restored to the family, or if the child is made to go back to the family or the community where the child is coming from, it will not do any good to the child, but that will harm the child. In that case, we have to accept. Now we are in a dilemma in that situation, whether to go by the act, the words of the act or to accept the principle of the best interest of child, while whether we should look after the well-being of the child. That case, we are in a dilemma, and we as a child protector, our role as a child protector should take a very clear decision. And that case, we are really in a not very well equipped. So this is one problem. Number two, the infrastructural problem. The police do not have infrastructure. The police do not have the proper personnel. Police do not have the, even if a ASI, who is a child welfare officer in the police station, they said that we have to go for other work, which is more regarded as more important. And as priority-wise, child comes at a very low level. Priority of the child is very, very low. And that is obvious in all spheres of our education system, all sphere of our, plan. And that affects the child, because after all, the child is our future. We have grown up, we are aged, we will go, but who will remain? The child, who will be an adult? But we never realize that. And that's why the problem lies that implementation of JJ Act is not taking its proper, is not happening properly, is not cannot be implemented properly, because, we do not understand. There was once a magazine long time back in New Delhi, My Name is Today. When a child is there, child will remain a child only for a short period. If we have to build a child, we'll build a child. If we destroy the child, we have to destroy the child. And we often do the second thing. We never ever think that the child is our priority. The child will remain, I'll go. So JJ Act should be implemented in the proper spirit. And we have to understand and provide proper facilities to the implementing bodies like CWC, JJB, police, judiciary. Everybody should be equipped properly to implement the act, which is not happening at present, because other priorities come across and then the child goes down. Yeah, sorry. I don't know whether I've been able to answer your question or not, but this is what my feeling is about the implementation process.
I completely agree with you, ma'am. What you have said is totally satisfactory that you have said, ma'am. But I believe I would like to also put a single point, ma'am, about this thing, that we have inadequate number of police personnel, ma'am. The lack of number of police personnel, and so that we are not able to dedicate a proper section towards the juveniles, and we are not able to properly train that particular section of the police for the juveniles. So I believe the lack in number of police personnel is also a big reason or big factor which we are not able to implement this part or this provision of the JJ Act. I don't know how much would you agree on this point, ma'am. So
police personnel is inadequate in number. Lady police personnel are not there, because often we say that for a girl child we require a lady police person to accompany the child, but we rarely get that, because there's no in the police station, there's no lady police personnel. So if there's no lady police officer, then who will accompany a girl child? Obviously the male police officer, and that is a violation of the act.
Yes, ma'am, exactly.
I've seen cases where once I was sitting in the CWC meeting in the session, and we were sitting in a CCI in one side, and I suddenly heard a scream, and then we rushed out to see that in the police van for 164, the girl child who's been taken for 164 is being put in the police van, and she's screaming at the top of her voice because she sees the perpetrator sitting there. Then we had to intervene and say that no, you cannot take both of them together. You have to leave the child behind and then do whatever you want, do it in the next day. But the police person, pleaded, inability. Said that, ma'am, what can I do? We do not have van. We have only one van, and it was assigned to me, and I had to take both the perpetrator as well as the victim and the offender. So what can I do? Often the police officers came and said that we, from our own pocket, we are providing money to take the child to the court or to the JJB or wherever it is, you know. So infrastructure, facilities, all these are very much lacking. And that has to be, you know, who can take care? We cannot take care of it. It is only if the government thinks, if the system plans and thinks that child is their priority, then only it can happen. Otherwise not.
Exactly, ma'am. Ma'am, you are here, Manoj sir is also here. So I would also like to add one more point, like the recruitment of the right person. Like in India now, we have many graduates and postgraduates of criminology, victimology, penology, who are specially trained or educated for this kind of jobs, and we are not recruiting them in a correct way. So I think this is also causing lacuna. This is also causing a lacuna in the system, that we are not able to deal with this kind of cases, and we're not able to create empathy and the awareness among all the police personals. So this is also a point, ma'am. So we are not recruiting the right person. And we have criminologists, we have victimologists, we have psychologists as well, we have some criminal psychologists as well. So I think there should be a system, this should be included in the JJ Act, that this kind of person from this particular background should be recruited, so that this system could be practice, or the system could work more efficiently.
In fact, you know, one thing, as you said, Yashwant, it's correct, that specialists should be engaged.
Yeah.
Specialists in different sectors. Now there is so much of, you know, divisions in the system. New disciplines have come up, and these disciplines are there to serve the children, serve the system, serve the country. And why aren't they taking their help? In the still, you know, the child welfare committee, the name welfare is there, so it is still the welfare approach. Hardly we find a very specialist person visiting a child welfare committee. I do not know whether presently any difference has been done in other states, but in West Bengal, I do not think that is happening.
Most of the states in India is lacking this thing, ma'am. I think most of the states in India is lacking this thing, and is very behind the thing that should be happen, and they're very behind for the things, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Pratikshit, I guess we have some questions now, so we can put on the questions to the speakers.
Thank you, ma'am, for such an answer that is filled with experience. And now, Manoj sir, the next question is to you. It's from Vidyasagar. And he's asking that, in India, do we have any host institutions to accommodate other state children who are of child laborers or bonded laborers in India?
Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Hello. Hello. Can you please repeat your question?
So the question is, in India, do we have any host institutions to accommodate other state children who are of child laborers or bonded laborers in India?
हेलो देखिए ऐसा है एग्जैक्टली चाइल्ड लेबर के ऊपर जो है वो कोई भी चाइल्ड लेबर हो का बच्चा अगर है तो बाहर के स्टेट में जो है डायरेक्ट ट्रांसफर किया जाता है क्योंकि वहाँ पे भी सीसीआईज है जो कि बच्चों की केयर के लिए हैं केसेस जो है वो एफआईआर या इसके अगेंस्ट में जो भी कार्रवाई होगी इसी जहाँ पे भी बच्चा मिला है वहां से स्टार्ट होगा बट बच्चे को जो है वो ट्रांसफर कर दिया जाएगा उसके सेम स्टेट में ताकि बच्चा जो है अपने फैमिली तक पहुंच सके हेलो
I think you have answered the question. And the next question is open for discussion. It's not directed to anyone in particular. And the question is, according to the JJ Act, is foster care is successful in India?
What?
According to JJ Act, is foster care successful in India? Vidyasagar is wanting to ask this question and is open for discussion for both the speakers.
Not clear.
Yeah, foster care is just growing up. It's not a very well set up practice now. Foster care is just, um, people are not very much accustomed to the concept of foster care. And being in a very marginalized population, especially, foster care is not very effective method of taking care of children. So at times it can help, but I have not come across many foster families who have come forward to take care of the child who is CNCP or CCL. I may, maybe Mr. Sharma or anybody else can add to my experience. I would be happy.
जरूर मैम, एक्चुअली फॉस्टर केयर का तो उतना मतलब कि नहीं है, बट दिल्ली के अंदर ग्रुप फॉस्टर केयर जो है वो स्टार्ट किया है और अभी स्टार्टिंग प्रोसेस में है, तो इसको हम पूरी तरह से डिफाइन नहीं कर सकते कितना बेहतर है या फिर और बेहतर हो सकता है, बट इनिशियली स्टार्ट किया गया है मैम। तो देखते हैं आगे कैसा और बेहतर कर सकती है इसको, बट हर जगह जो है ये फॉस्टर केयर का जो है उतना फिजिबल नहीं हो पाया है, बट दिल्ली के अंदर जो है स्टार्टिंग में अभी 1-2 जगह किया है मैम। और
What
अभी
is
भी
this
हमारे
group for? Yeah, Mr. Sharma, can you explain, like, what is the mechanism of this group foster care? कैसे वो काम करते हैं?
जरूर मैम, एक्चुअली फॉस्टर केयर के लिए जो है वो कोई भी इंस्टीट्यूशन या फिर जो भी पर्सन है, अगर वो ग्रुप फॉस्टर केयर चलाना चाहते हैं, तो इसके लिए 8 बच्चों का एक ग्रुप होता है, जिसमें डिफाइन करते हैं कि 8 बच्चों को जो है उस इंस्टीट्यूट में पूरा जो है विजिट होता है, DCPU की जो है पूरी होम विजिट रिपोर्ट लगती है, SAR लगता है। उसके बाद जो है CWC जो है वो इंस्टीट्यूशन के विजिट करने के बाद उसको ऑथेंटिकल बनाते हैं कि हाँ आप ग्रुप फॉस्टर केयर चला सकते हैं। वो मिनिमम 1 ईयर तक का होता है मैम, और मैक्सिमम फिर वो 2 टर्म में दिया जा सकता है। तो अभी प्रोसेस में है मैम, दिल्ली के अंदर 2 जगह, एक जगह ऑलरेडी चल रहा है, दूसरी जगह के लिए जो अभी एप्लीकेशन आया हुआ है, तो मैम प्रोसेस में है।
ये क्या CCI के अंदर में ही होते हैं क्या?
मैम जहाँ तक मुझे पता है मैम, अभी एक CCI ने जो है वो अप्लाई किया हुआ है। पहले वो
अच्छा।
CCI की तरह ही रन कर रहा था, बट उन्होंने जो है उसे बंद कर दिया और उसके बाद उन्होंने फॉस्टर केयर के लिए अप्लाई किया। तो दिल्ली के अंदर अभी एक जगह ऑलरेडी कंटिन्यू है फॉस्टर केयर, ग्रुप फॉस्टर केयर, और दूसरी जगह के लिए एप्लीकेशन आया हुआ है, तो
ये
उसका
क्या
भी जो
मिनिस्ट्री
है।
ऑफ WCD के है?
बिल्कुल मैम।
अच्छा, ओके, थैंक यू।
Thank you, sir, and thank you, ma'am, for answering the doubt. And I guess we now have Shubhra Sanyal, ma'am, with us. Ma'am, can you hear us? Shubhra, ma'am, can you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I would like to invite Shubhra Sanyal, ma'am, to kindly summarize the whole event and say a few words.
Yeah, thank you, Pratiksha. But before I go ahead, let me share something with Madam Bijli. Regarding the JJ Act, ma'am, I want to say that I have conducted 2 research projects, one of which Manoj was there with me, and he had also gone widespread in different parts of the country. We were doing this research on reformation and rehabilitation of children in conflict with law. And there were shortcomings which came out in JJ Act, particularly the probation system, which is very much compulsory and importance is given, but probation system is not universally being implemented in all parts. As a result, children moving from one place to another, or follow-up, Manoj will agree with me, follow-up was not being done properly. And so children were returning, we never knew where the children are going and whether they are going into crime once again, or really they are getting reinstated in the family. That was one limitation. Second limitation I had mentioned yesterday when Mr. Pradeep of JGB was discussing, that was about the universal implementation of the Juvenile Justice Act in every parts of the country. because it becomes a state policy once you go to Kolkata or once you go to Bangalore, it becomes a state policy. So some state is doing very well. They are providing vocational trades. They're doing. In other states, it's not there. And we have done a widespread study, not one. 2 studies have been done with the sponsorship of Ministry of Women and Child. And third one is I'm still having. Now the third one, which I'm doing, is of the children who are returning from the correctional homes and going back, what are the challenges they are facing after release? That I'm taking it up probably with UNICEF. So these are the things, as you said rightly, that JJ Act is having that provision of foster home, as Manu just now said. In 2015, JJ Act provisions of foster homes are there. But the implementation of JJ Act in spirit and letter is not done in every state of the country. Our studies have shown. This is I wanted to share with you before I sum up. And I want to thank you for your very comprehensive lecture that you have given. And I start with this, that this concept of street children came to my mind. I'll tell you how. You know, I was working on Jawaharlal Nehru project report on adult rehabilitation. And fortunately, I had Dr. Karan Singh as a mentor. And once he told me, he said, Dr. Sanyal, you are trying to rehabilitate those who are already rehabilitated. Why don't you deal with children? Why don't you deal with children in conflict with law? Why do you not deal with the street children? That made me start working. And since 2013-14, I'm working on juveniles, children in conflict with law. 2 projects have already been done. Now in my mind, it came about the street children. And I'm very thankful to the CRDO youngsters who took this idea from my mind, and they worked on it day and night. I was after them. I knew they were getting angry. They had their other work also, but they really gave life to this 2-day symposium. I thank them before I start my overview briefing of the thing. Now, this whole thing, the aim and objective of this symposium, let me tell all the viewers, all those on this platform, have an aim, the speakers, not simply to speak and deliver lectures on the platform, but to come out with certain salient features, to come out with certain concrete findings as to what next we should do. Should we go on accusing one another, or should we now go into a concerted, coordinated, cooperated effort to mitigate the grievances and redressal of the street children there? Because they are the children of our country. They are children of the earth. Why are we failing in trying to redress their grievances? Now, in this case, I go to the speakers who have come in these 2 days session. After my introductory talk, we had a very, very profitable talk from Dr. Iqbal of Jamia Millia. He spoke on the psychodynamics of the street children. He spoke on the vulnerabilities of the street children, the problems that the street children develop in their personality formation. I'm a psychologist, I'm a criminal profiler, and I have been noticing that when a person becomes a sociopath and a psychopath, definitely in the childhood stage, there has been some difficulties in their growth. Definitely there has been some sexual abuse, molestation, verbal abuse. As a result, the personality gets disrupted. So this type of thing, Professor Iqbal gave a very, very thorough discussion, which was a learning point on this platform. Soon after that, we had Mr. Pradeep from the JGB, who discussed the JGB threadbare, and he also brought out, without any hesitation, the limitation. He spoke about the police attitude, where somewhere I intervened because I have been in the Home Ministry. I retired from there. And we have been sensitizing the police all the time. But he's rightly said, and as you, Madam Bijli said, that there are shortage of resources. Police are not able to manage because there is no division of work. That you have to handle juveniles, so you cannot take major crimes. They are handling juveniles, they are handling rapists, they are handling the murderers. So therefore, they do not know how to manage the thing. So this limitation, Mr. Pradeep mentioned very well. And then soon after that, you see how this whole program has been managed now. All of you listen to me, that we had on one side the theoretical part, the conceptual part, the other side we had the practical part, so that everybody can get a thorough and an intriguing and an interesting view of what street children are really are. We try to project that image in front of you through this platform. So we had in the afternoon session, the latter part of the session, we had Mr. Deep Purakash, sir. He spoke about the NGO, which he is handling, which he has as founder, and how rightly and innovatively he is working in the midst of the street children on the railway stations of Howrah and Sialda in Kolkata. And he had said that many of these children are being trained and taught, and they are being returned back to the family. They are doing some work. He says that we try to intervene between the traffickers, between the exploiters. We try to see that these children get the jobs. We see that these children return back home. But problem is a problem. As you mentioned, ma'am, you are in Kolkata, you have mentioned, problem is still there, and problem will continue unless we get together to set to work. So soon after that, today, I was in the morning, though I was not there, but I was listening very attentively to very, very comprehensive and a provocative, thought-provocative lecture of Madam Devaruti Haldar and the other previous Madam Goswami. They were speaking, and Madam Goswami questioned repeatedly, over and over again, that unless and until the state comes down with the NGOs and the state listens to the problems that the NGOs and the local social workers are having with the street children, nothing will come up. She said, how long shall we go on? Where is the solution? How to come to an end to it? A very thought-provoking question she has put to everyone. Dr. Devaruti Haldar spoke of cybercrime, and it is very stunning to know that small children are indulging in cybercrime with the help of small mobiles, very cheap mobiles, and for that, they are indulging in theft. They are indulging in blitting the tires of the cars in the areas. They are doing everything they can do, even hacking and cracking. They are doing it to, get some money to do things. So these things have really given a new impetus. I think no other platform will be giving so much learning points to the viewers as these thoughts by you speakers have given. And you came forward, ma'am. You gave a very descriptive, a very evaluative picture of the Juvenile Justice Act 2015. The act is going on amending, but the point is at the ground reality, things are not changing. This is how I will put it. This is how I've been telling the Ministry of Women and Child Development, that you go on implementing, amending, but the implementation at the ground level is not going. So that is the spirit in letter should go. In words, it should go. Then only the implementation success, as you rightly said, and you have very well put it, ma'am. It is a very thought-provoking your lecture has been. I was hearing all throughout. And lastly, Manoj had come forward. Manoj has been with my team in the first project. He knows, he has traveled everywhere, he knows the limitations, and I'm very happy to see him on this platform discussing all these issues. So with these words, I thank you all. I thank my team members who had given me the opportunity to bring this street children subject live on this platform. But then I don't stay put here. I want something else to add. And what I want to add is this. Should we end here, no sooner the sessions are over, or should we combine? It has to be a combination and a coordination of a concerted effort between the state. We cannot always blame either the state and stay away. We have to have the state taken into account. We ourselves as members of NGOs must go to the state, and these are the problems. We must also help the police in handling problems. We must also have local workers, social workers, and even the families in the vicinities, and awareness, general awareness has to be spread that this is how you have to do it. I don't say that it will go in a day. It will not go in a decade, but certain reduction in this crime rate will come down. Certain reduction in the problems of the street children will come down if we can really from this seminar take away some messages. I've always been saying, ma'am, in the past, and to all you people, that when I was in the Home Ministry, when I used to take classes with police and the senior judicial officers, at the end of the day, when we used to give valedictory address, I used to tell them, this is not the end. This is the beginning. You are going away with certain thoughts. These thoughts should go on disturbing you. You should not sleep at night. until you come out with some new ideas. With these words, I thank you, all the speakers who have come here and who have really illuminated, illustrated, and brightened our thoughts. I also thank my young team friends who have given me the opportunity to bring this subject to life, Yashwant, Pratikshit, Rishabh, and Vinny, for all the time being with me. I thank you. I have been troubling you all like anything, but you can take me as an elderly lady who can always trouble you. So, I'm very, very thankful to all of you. I'm thankful to the university who has coordinated with you all. And then with these words, I leave with a hope that very soon we'll come forward with some new idea back on the street children concept. Thank you very much.
Being always pushing us and being supportive to us, like always. I guess we have one more question from Tulika directed towards Manoj sir, but I guess he's already handled it. So we'll move forward. Thank you, sir, and thank you, ma'am, and thank you everyone for joining us. As we are coming towards the end of the symposium, I would like to request the National Secretary of Technological Research and Development Organization India, Mr. Yashwant Narayan. Mr. Narayan is a GRF scholar and is pursuing his PhD from National Forensic Science University, Gandhinagar. And he himself keeps an interest in working for the street children as well. And his major area of study is in emotional intelligence and policing. To present the vote of thanks. Sir, please.
Thank you so much, Pratikshit, for inviting me and introducing me in a beautiful way. Thank you so much. Good evening to you all. So we are now coming to the end of this 2 days symposium on street children in India. And I must say this has been so great 2 days to hear all the speakers and getting enlightened on the particular topics on which they have spoken. It was so great, it was so good to interact with the participants, and we also got the opportunity to interact with the speakers as well during the question and answer session. And I believe that this went same for the participants as well. You also enjoyed and you also took away a lot of things from this symposium. And as Subramanian was saying that should we stop here? So absolutely not, ma'am. On the behalf of CRDO India, I would like to say that no, we are not going to stop here. This is a step towards the betterment of street children from our side, and will not stop. We'll keep continuing. Working for the street children, and I hope and expect for the participants as well. So if you have taken away something from our symposium, must work for those children, those marginalized children, those children who are already in a worse situation, who are living in a worse conditions. So please try to take a single step from your side, and then if we come together, we'll definitely make a good team, and we have a big chain that will be working for street children, and that would eradicate this street children thing from our India. I hope so. So moving towards the, so I have been here. I'm here to give the thanks to all the people who are associated with this symposium. So first of all, I would like to thank our organizing partner, Dr. K.N. Modi University, who has thanks for collaborating with us and providing us the required support. Thank you very much. And I would like to extend my thanks to our honorable president, sir, Mr. Rishabh Srivastava, who has always encouraged us and guided us throughout the time we have taken to organize this symposium. And thank you very much, Subra Madam, who is an honorary member of our organization and also a member of our advisory board. Thank you so much for advising us for doing an symposium on this topic, which is very less talking in our India. There are many events which are being organized after this pandemic has started. Webinars, there were a lot of webinars, but there was no talk. There was no events which has particularly talked about the street children. So thank you so much, ma'am, for letting us organize this symposium on the street children. Thank you very much, madam. Now I would like to extend my thanks to all the speakers of this symposium who took out the precious time for us, and who accepted our invitation and joined with us as a speaker and enlightened us on the various topics, who brightened our thinkings and brought some harsh reality that the street children are facing in this scenario. So thank you so much, Subra ma'am, again. Thank you so much, Dr. Omkar sir, Mr. Deep Prakash sir, Professor Naved Iqbal sir, Dr. Mala Goswami madam, Dr. Devarati Haldar madam, Dr. Bijli Madam, and Mr. Manoj Kumar Sharma sir. Thank you, all of you, for being with us. And now I would like to thank the team of CRDO India and the honorary members of CRDO India who has always been with us and extended support. Who has always been working as a team, no matter what time was, no matter time is, we always work as a team, and we have a great team. And we make a great team. Thank you so much, all the members of CRDO India. And at the last but not the least, I would like to thank those who made this symposium become a successful event. Yes, the participants. I would like to give a heartfelt thanks to all the participants who participated in our this symposium and had been with us throughout the 4 long sessions. Thank you so much, participants, and thank you so much, Pratikshit, for being such a good host, such a good moderator, and you have done the job so well. Thank you so much, and that's all from my side. And Pratikshit, it's all over to you. That's all from my side. Thank you. Pratikshit, are you there? Okay, fine. I think we have lost the connection with Pratikshit. So I think I'll have to send the off to all of you. So here, Bijli ma'am is here, Shubha ma'am is here, I think Manoj is also here. So thank you so much, ma'am. I have presented the vote of thanks also. So thank you so much for being with us. And the participants, I guess you all have filled the feedback form and submitted to us. And there are many queries regarding certificates. Yes, we will provide certificates to the participants, and we have been continuously announcing that all the participants or the registered participants who have filled the feedback form, we have released 4 feedback forms. So out of those 4 who have filled the 3 feedback form and sent to us would be allotted with the certificate. And the time period for issuing a certificate would be 7 to 10 days, because it takes time, because there are a huge number of participants in our symposium, so it takes time, and we have more webinars to be coming ahead. So I also expect and I also hope all the participants who are with us will be with us in the next upcoming webinars as well. Thank you so much, and till then, stay safe. This is a time of pandemic. Use masks, use hand sanitizers, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you very much. And that's all from the symposium.
In the end, Yashwant, once again, I thank you, all of you. I thank all of you for being with me, and I think we will keep on like this. And
Yes.
while bidding adieu to all others, you just tell them that hope for the best next time. So that, the more they will give us support, the more good we will give them.
Yeah,
Just
exactly,
also
ma'am.
convey to
Exactly,
them.
ma'am. We really assure if we have lacked something in this symposium, we will definitely try to bring some better things, and we would like to improve ourselves, and we'll bring some good thing for you. So I hope you will always extend support to us, all the participants and all the speakers who have been with us, always be in support of us. Thank you so much, and that's all from the symposium. See you again in the next webinar. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you to all of you once again. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Participants who have already filled the feedback form may disconnect, may leave the webinar as it's over. We have come to the end. Mohit, can you hear me? Mohit?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what's the status of the feedback forms? Have you got all the feedback form from the participants?
Yes, sir. Probably.
So
We got that.
let's be connected for 5 more minutes, and then we can disconnect. And thank you, Mohit. Thank you. Sorry, I couldn't take your name. Mohit, thank you so much for being with the CRDO India as a technical team. Thank you so much. And without you, this was not possible to happen. So thanks for taking out the time and being with us. Thank you so much, Mohit.
Thank you, sir.